Okay, I'm Rich Sands with Black Duck Software. I'm the product manager for Olo. And I'm here with two guys from RedMonk, an analyst firm that most of you out there in the free and open source world know is pretty well plugged into the developer space. And I've got James Governor here, and I've got Donnie Berkholz, the newest RedMonk guy and self-proclaimed data nerd. Data is becoming more and more important in terms of how open source projects look at things, how they manage what they're doing, where they're going. What do you see as the sort of most important immediate effect that data analytics can have for open source projects going forward?
Fewer assholes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, so on one hand, there's the advent of data-driven decision-making, right? And so being able to not just use intuition to drive your decisions, but to look at the data and really know what works and what doesn't. And that's open source projects or not. There's a lot of places that aren't taking advantage of all the data that's out there. And on the second hand, there's areas where you couldn't quantify previously. That if you look at Olo, for example, you can start to quantify communities and not just code. Everybody could count lines of code for decades, but being able to look at things like the number of contributors over time and then correlate that with code or with other factors.
So I think Mick Kirsten's now calling it the social code graph. So Mick from TaskTom. I don't know that that is the best term, but it's descriptive of what you're describing.
Exactly. So being able to tie in the community and the code, bring them together, and bring them together with data.
So how do you think someone who's sort of looking at open source and trying to decide, okay, which projects am I going to use, which projects am I going to adopt, what sorts of data would they want to be looking at in terms of what's available out there now that would help them home in on the most live projects, the best projects for what they're trying to do?
Something you really don't need to be a rocket scientist or a data scientist, or I mean, a lot of people now, a lot of developers, basically checking out what's going on in GitHub is just something you do. I mean, that's part of your kind of foraging activities. You go and you want to find something that's going to help you solve a problem that you're going to integrate into what you're doing. Well, you definitely want to see more activity there. So you either want to see that a lot of pull requests, that's something that's interesting. They'll tell you what repos are trending. So there's a certain amount of metadata there that any developer can begin to get some idea of whether a particular project has legs. But obviously, I think from an organizational perspective, you probably want a bit of a higher level of analysis than just, oh, I had a quick look. But I think increasingly that's the point. The metadata is there and it's associated with the people. So it might even be, you might come across a project where there were a lot of people, and that's great, and that's likely to be strong. But on the other hand, it might be like, oh, this is 3 guys, and I know that what they do is always solid. So I think there's a fair amount of data there, and it doesn't always need to be like some elaborate, big data number crunching exercise. I think the key point is just increasingly, as Donnie made, the social graph is now like, we're just in a position where we can more closely integrate the social graph with the coding and all of the activities that are happening within particular communities.
Right. So imagine if you could go to GitHub and see the project page and then see a graph pulled in from Olo talking about the health of that particular project. And so you would have that data available to you right in front of your face.
Haven't you done that yet? Haven't you and GitHub done that integration? What's wrong with you guys?
I don't know what we were thinking, but that is a very good idea. It's something that we'll certainly be looking at working with the GitHub guys on that type of integration.
So we're certainly, I mean, we're as an analyst firm, we do something slightly different, I think, from a lot of other groups. We're actually trying to build some momentum around getting a hold of some of the machine learning, i.e. the data that has been generated by companies such as yourselves. I mean, companies touching developers, and basically trying to pull in as many data sets as we can from these different constituencies. It's not my job to kind of, pimp Black Duck here, but certainly that the organization understands the importance of data, and we found you to be, I think, a useful partner already. There's a lot of opportunity, and yeah, the bottom line is that it would be kind of foolish to not take advantage of the data that's out there.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate your joining me today. and hope you're enjoying the conference. I know I am.
Yeah.
And the beer's been very good, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to try and do something about that later. But yes. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.